Action.
Who do you think you are? Really?
We are supposed to be the good guys.
We are.
Congratulations on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It is insane.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Yeah, we're excited for the world to see it.
And tell me, can you explain what your role on the film was as an animator?
Yeah, so I do the acting and the movement. So anything that moves pretty much is what the animators do. So we spend a lot of time filming ourselves acting, getting into character for whatever scenes we have. And then we help each other out in acting scenes. And then, yeah, that's all before we start touching the actual scene. And then that's why I imagine like a puppet. I mean, you have a controller everywhere you have a limb, and then you just go through and take what you want from your reference and then suit it to the style.
Wow, there's so much to dig deeper into what you just said then. So
Yeah.
from a day-to-day perspective, when you're on this production, what does that look like?
So say I get handed a scene from the director and it's in storyboard form. So it's a guy having a drink, right? And the director explains to us the context of the scene. Be like, oh, he was poisoned last time he was drinking, so he is kind of hesitant. So then I go set up a camera and I'll film myself. I'll film myself acting it out in as many different ways as I can, and then I'll show the director my best takes. And then from there, they'll be like, oh, I like take B, for example, and then I use that as my reference for my animation.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And so in this particular film, like what was some of your favorite sequences to animate?
Well, I was lucky enough to have a scene in there. I think it was the second trailer. It came out in December, and it was like 15-second roughly shot. And it was Miles and his mom on this rooftop, and she was trying to swim. She was like, I don't mean to ice your game, man.
I can hear you being quiet, Mom.
I hope I didn't ice your game, man.
No one my age says those words in that order.
So I luckily made that. It was my first big shot in the trailer. So it was cool to have something released like way before the movie came out. So that was really exciting. And also the team that I was a part of got to animate the intro to Pavitra, the Indian Spider-Man. So that whole sequence when he's introduced in Mumbattan and no spoilers at chasing people around. So like we got to animate all that. So it was nice like developing his character the first time he's ever seen by the world. So that was exciting.
Yeah, and we won't give too much away, but that sequence is bonkers. It's extremely cool. And so let's just rewind a bit to the release of the first film, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was, I think, a revelation for a lot of people who I think didn't really understand what it was going to be before they saw it, and then they experienced the film and were just blown away. Obviously, it had huge success, won an Oscar. From your perspective as an animator, what did you think when you saw it for the first time?
I was in the same boat. I hadn't really heard much about the movie before actually going to see it, and I was like, holy moly, that is unreal. And I was just a fan back then, and I was like, I have to work on this next one. So that was my goal for the next few years. So to actually be in opening week and hearing the first reviews of people coming out, like, there's actually nothing more exciting as an animator.
Yeah. And so what did you like the most about that first film?
It was just a fresh take on Spider-Man, right? Because we always hear the Peter Parker story, which is great, but this one was like the theme, anyone can wear the mask, right? And it was cool to just have a complete fresh new take.
You want to know what happened to you? I can teach you to be Spider-Man.
And yeah, let other people like see themselves in Spider-Man. Like, oh, I can wear the mask too, maybe. So yeah, and I think this next movie takes that to the next level, you know, because it doesn't matter if you're male, female, black, white, a horse, or a cat, whatever. There's someone in there's a spider variant exactly like you in a universe out there fighting crime.
And from a technical perspective, how does the sequel build on what we saw in the first film from an animation perspective?
It's just insane. Like, we have a lot of talented script writers and people making tools to make our job a lot easier. And, the directors really were adamant about pushing the style, further than the first one. And, there's characters animated on different frame rates. They all have different rendering styles depending on what universe they're from. So that might affect how they're animated. And it was just like that time, like the last one was lightning and this one's like a thunderstorm. So yeah, that's how it feels.
And how would you describe the aesthetic of the film?
Well, visually it's just unbelievable. So many artists have just massaged every single frame of the movie. You could print any frame, just hang it on your wall as a poster, right? And with the 6 different dimensions that we visit, all with different styles as well. I've never seen anything like it, and being a part of it, it's just a dream.
And it's interesting because I saw it in a cinema by myself a week ago or so, and my initial takeaway certainly to the first sort of 30 minutes of the film was that I was looking at a piece of contemporary art. Like it felt like an art piece. And I see now subsequently that, some reviews and first reactions have come out and other critics have felt the same. Like, how do you feel when you hear feedback like that?
It's just blowing me away. Like, all the animators, we always share with each other reviews and like fan theories and stuff that people have. And, when you're working on it, like we think it's great, but you don't really know until the public comes out and like critiques it. And so that kind of just justifies, we weren't right in thinking that. And we're just as blown away as you are. There's so many amazing artists from every corner of the world just banding together in Vancouver, making this beautiful movie. So yeah, it's just amazing.
And so you talk about all those artists. Were they working in all of their corners of the world, or did everybody come together? How did that work?
So most people are based in Vancouver, some in LA and Montreal, but most of us will be in Vancouver. So yeah. Between our homes and the studio and whatever, we're all around. But you can't work not from anywhere in the world. Yeah.
And you mentioned some of the dimensions that feature in the film. We won't go into them because it's like discovering them is part of the fun. But it's the ones that we have already got a glimpse of in the trailers. Like, what is your favorite? Like, what is the one? Like, obviously, you've got a bit of a bit of an allegiance to Mountbatten.
Yeah, Mountbatten's awesome. But other than Mountbatten, I really love Gwen Stacy's world. I think it's Earth 65. It's kind of like a watercolor mood board. So depending on how the character is feeling, the background will start bleeding those colors and will really reflect that. And that's just like unreal. I was like, how did they even think of that? But we were blown away watching it, like, because we'd animate our scenes and you don't see the watercolors in the background. It's just like great stuff, right? And then the departments after us will add all those beautiful effects and we're like, whoa, like, unbelievable.
It's pretty clear to me that, it's amazing that as well as working on the film, you're definitely a fan of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a special thing. And then Spider-Punk, voiced by Daniel Kaluuya, who's amazing. Like his aesthetic is crazy, right? Like it's kind of like collage.
Yeah, exactly. He's such an amazing character. He'd be my second favorite new character other than Pavitra. But he's just like a non-conformist. He plays by his own beat, right? And even we reflect that in the way that he's animated. So most of the characters will be animated on 2s, so like a keyframe every 2 frames. Whereas we try to play into his personality by animating him maybe on 3s or 4s. So they'll be walking together, but you'll notice he's a bit more choppy and stuff. Like he doesn't really fit into their way of doing things, which just is such a nice touch.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like there's so many layers to how this film is put together that I think just makes it as special as it is. And so you went to Curtin University, is that right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Hometown hero. I love that. And so growing up in Perth, like at what point did you think that, becoming an animator was something you wanted to do and was possible? And then how did you go about kind of, achieving that?
Yeah, so it's pretty much the only thing I've ever wanted to do since I was a kid. So I went to Curtin and I did like a multimedia design course. And it was great, but it wasn't quite the hands-on animation training that I wanted. So after I graduated, I was like, all right, I need to at least try and achieve this dream. So then I found Vancouver Film School and I got accepted into that. And I had about 2 years to save money, working a bunch of random jobs, and went to school, and we're taught by industry professionals. So they give you a gateway to the industry. And then I've just been working my way towards here. the last
Yeah.
8 years.
And so what cartoons were you watching as a kid that made you think, I want to do this?
The first ones that come to mind, I really loved Toy Story, obviously, the first 3D animated movie, and Ren and Stimpy. I just loved how they would contort and just like visually, like they don't even need to say anything; they just stretch their face, and like that is hilarious. I love that slapstick sort of vibe, just seeing something drawn and crack up at that. That's like amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so will you be working on the next installment, like the second installment of Across the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, so I currently am on another movie that I can't really say anything about, but the plan is to join the Spider-Verse for the third part at some stage.
Yeah. And so you just must be stoked at that possibility. Like it looks like such an incredible thing to be working on. And so what do you hope that audiences take away from the film, both in terms of as a movie, like enjoying it in the cinema, but also what should they be looking for to really appreciate like how cutting edge and groundbreaking the animation is?
Well, when we were making the movie, we didn't really think we're making an animated Spider-Man movie. We're thinking we're making a Spider-Man movie, right? So I just hope that people, aren't too caught up on that. Obviously, the visual style is going to blow them away. But, growing up, there's been a lot of stigma. People would see animation and automatically assume it's for kids. But if I were to quote Guillermo del Toro, who just won the Oscar for Best Animation, is that like animation is not a genre just for kids. It is a medium for telling stories, and animation is cinema. So I just hope that people that maybe even aren't big animation fans walk out and be like blown away, be like, my favorite Spider-Man movie ever, or superhero movie ever.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, I think, like, if I'm doing my, kind of like top 10 superhero movies, like, I would say, like, the Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, and Lego Batman are probably in that top 10.
Nice.
Because and that's the thing, right? Like, I think animation is a vehicle for storytelling, just like anything else. And the storytelling in Across the Spider-Verse is just immaculate. The animation is just phenomenal. Thomas, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Congratulations again on the film. You guys knocked it out of the park.
Thanks, mate. Thanks so much for having me. Cheers.